The glow of the arena's lights still lingered in Kira's mind as she walked through the narrow, dimly lit corridors beneath the Colosseum. The victory was fresh, and her body still hummed with the adrenaline of battle. Yet, something deeper burned in her now. It wasn't the thrill of combat, nor the satisfaction of her survival. It was something more urgent. Kira had crushed Zorvok, silenced Velrock, and humiliated the Zyphorian Empire in front of their bloodthirsty audience. But it wasn't enough. Victory on the battlefield meant nothing unless it sparked something bigger, something that could shake the foundations of the Zyphorian Empire to its core. She wasn't here just to fight. She was here to change the galaxy. As she passed through the narrow passageways, her footsteps echoing off the cold stone walls, Kira noticed the occasional furtive glance. It was a look of fear or respect. Either way, it was clear that her name was now whispered in hushed tones, both in awe and fear. She had become a symbol, and symbols were dangerous. They could ignite revolutions, or they could become nothing more than forgotten legends. Kira wasn't interested in being a legend. She was interested in being a catalyst for change. In the dark corner of the corridor, a shadow moved. Kira instinctively tensed but relaxed when she saw the familiar face of Jiro, a human she had met only days before. His skin was darker than most humans, a result of the brutal conditions on a distant moon. But his eyes held a spark that matched her own, a desire to break free, to fight back. "Thought I'd find you here," Jiro said quietly, glancing around to ensure no one else was listening. "You did it. You really did it." Kira nodded, her expression hardening. "It's not enough. We need to move faster. We need more." Jiro looked at her, confusion flashing in his eyes. "More? What do you mean? We've already got the attention of every alien in this place. The fighters are scared of you." Kira's voice was low, steady. "Fear is temporary. Respect is more enduring. But we need more than fear. We need allies. We need an army." "An army?" Jiro repeated, his voice incredulous. "How do you suppose we get an army, Kira? We're just a bunch of prisoners." Her gaze sharpened. "We're more than prisoners. We're survivors. And if we survive long enough, others will join us." Kira turned to leave, her cloak flowing behind her like a shadow. Jiro followed, falling into step beside her. "Where are we going?" Jiro asked. "To find the others," Kira replied. "To find those who want more than just survival. They want freedom. They want to fight." The two of them slipped through the underbelly of the arena, a maze of narrow corridors and hidden passages. They passed by several other humans and alien workers, most of whom kept their heads down, their eyes averted. The fear in their gaze was palpable, but Kira knew they weren't afraid of her. They were afraid of the system. Of the Zyphorians who ruled with an iron fist. Kira's thoughts were interrupted by the sharp sound of footsteps ahead. She held up a hand to stop Jiro, her body tense. From around the corner, a figure emerged, a tall, wiry alien with pale blue skin and 4 eyes. His appearance was striking, but it was his demeanor that caught Kira's attention. He walked with a quiet confidence, a man who had seen too much to be afraid of anything. "You're the one," the alien said, his voice deep but calm, as if he had been expecting her. "Kira Dravon, the human who destroyed Zorvok." His eyes glinted with admiration. "I've heard much about you." Kira assessed him carefully. She had no idea who this alien was, but his presence felt important. She didn't trust easily, but there was something about his aura, something that told her he wasn't just another sycophant. "I'm Rax," the alien introduced himself, bowing his head slightly. "I have information that may interest you." Kira raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Go on." Rax stepped closer, lowering his voice. "The Zyphorians have their sights set on Earth. They've been gathering forces, preparing for a full-scale invasion. They want to bring your homeworld to its knees." Kira felt a cold knot form in her stomach. Earth. Her home. She had always known that the Zyphorians weren't just playing with them, they were planning something far worse. But hearing it from someone else, seeing the gravity in Rax's eyes, made the threat all the more real. What kind of forces? Kira demanded, her voice edged with urgency. A fleet, Rax said quietly. Hundreds of ships, weapons, soldiers. All ready to descend upon Earth. It's only a matter of time before they make their move. Kira's heart pounded in her chest. She had known it was coming, but hearing it so plainly made it real. Earth was in danger, and every moment spent here, trapped in this arena, was a moment lost in the fight for her people's survival. She had to act. How do we stop them? Kira asked, her voice steady but fierce. Rax's eyes flickered with something Kira couldn't quite read. We need to hit them where it hurts. Take out their supply lines, their communications. We can cripple their operation from within. But it won't be easy. They have spies everywhere. Kira's jaw tightened. We'll do it. We'll form an alliance. We'll make sure they know we're coming. Rax nodded slowly. I've already started making contacts. There are others who feel as you do. You're not alone in this fight, Kira. But you need to move quickly. The Zyphorians are always watching. With a final look of understanding, Rax turned and disappeared into the shadows, leaving Kira and Jiro standing in the dim corridor. Kira looked at Jiro, her resolve hardening. This is it. This is the beginning. We take the fight to them. Jiro nodded. And we won't stop until we've taken everything from them. Kira paused, her thoughts racing. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. She wasn't even fighting for Earth. She was fighting for the oppressed, the voiceless. She was fighting for all those who had been crushed under the weight of the Zyphorian Empire. As they turned and walked deeper into the hidden tunnels, Kira's mind was already planning. There was no turning back now. The seed of revolution had been planted. And it was going to grow, whether the Zyphorians liked it or not. Key dialogues. Kira to Jiro, fear is temporary. Respect is more enduring. But we need more than fear. We need allies. We need an army. Rax to Kira, the Zyphorians have their sights set on Earth. They want to bring your homeworld to its knees. Kira to Jiro, we'll do it. We'll form an alliance. We'll make sure they know we're coming. The night air was heavy with tension, the silence oppressive. Kira crouched in the shadows, the faint hum of distant machinery vibrating through the stone walls of the Zyphorian stronghold. Her heart beat steady, controlled, calm before the storm. She wasn't here to fight. Not yet. This mission wasn't about strength, it was about stealth. Getting in. Gathering intelligence. Escaping undetected. Her mind raced through the plan: infiltrate the Zyphorian command center, gather intel on their fleet's position and Earth's vulnerability, and get out before anyone realized she was there. Simple. Clean. And if all went well, the first step toward crippling the Zyphorians' war machine. A signal from Rax, one of her few allies inside, had led her here. He was waiting on the other side of the heavily guarded hall, ready to guide her through the network of tunnels that would take her to the heart of the Zyphorian operation. Ready? Jiro whispered at her side, his eyes scanning the hallway with practiced caution. He had become a trusted companion, someone who shared her vision and would fight beside her until the end. Kira nodded, glancing at the weapons hidden beneath their cloaks, weapons they had carefully chosen for stealth rather than showy violence. The mission wasn't about making a statement. Not yet. We go in, we get out. Quietly, she said, her voice soft, yet firm. Jiro gave a quick nod of agreement. They moved swiftly, slipping between shadows, using every dark corner, every unnoticed crevice to avoid detection. As they approached the guarded entrance, Kira felt the familiar rush of anticipation. This wasn't new to her. She'd infiltrated enemy lines before. But this time felt different. There was more at stake. This wasn't about survival, it was about saving a world. The door ahead of them slid open with a soft hiss. Rax was standing just inside, his face expressionless. He raised a hand in greeting, his 4 eyes scanning their surroundings before signaling them to follow. "Stay close," he murmured. "The command center is just through here." They moved silently, the weight of the situation settling over them. Kira knew the risks, she had trained her whole life for moments like this. But still, the tension gnawed at her. There was no room for error. As they reached the door to the command center, Rax stopped. "There's a change in plans," he whispered urgently. Kira's gaze locked onto his. "What do you mean?" Rax's expression shifted, a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes that Kira hadn't seen before. "There's someone inside, someone who knows you're here. I wasn't sure if I should tell you, but there's no time. You're not the only one who's been working against the Zyphorians." Kira's instincts screamed at her, but she forced herself to stay calm. "Who?" A tense pause followed. Then, Rax hesitated. "It's Velrock." Kira's breath caught. Velrock, the Zyphorian who had been humiliated by her in the arena. The one who had sworn to destroy her. The very thought of him left a bitter taste in her mouth. He's the one who's been feeding the Zyphorians false information. "But I didn't know. I didn't know he'd..." A sudden, sharp noise cut through the air. The door to the command center slid open abruptly, and a figure stepped out from the shadows. Kira froze, her pulse quickening. There, standing before her, was Velrock. His once towering, intimidating frame now seemed somehow smaller, his arrogance replaced by something darker. His yellow eyes locked onto hers, and for a brief moment, the world seemed to freeze. "I knew it," he hissed, his voice dripping with venom. "I knew you were too dangerous to leave unchecked. You really think you can come into our territory, infiltrate our command, and walk away with your life?" Rax took a step back, his face pale. "I didn't know, Velrock. I didn't know you were part of this." Velrock's lips curled into a smile. "Of course you didn't. You were never meant to." He flicked his hand dismissively. "You were always the perfect pawn, Rax. I knew you'd fall for the bait." Kira's heart raced. Betrayed. She had trusted Rax, she had allowed him into the fold, believing he wanted the same thing she did. But now, everything was crumbling. She had walked into a trap. "Why, Rax?" Kira asked, her voice laced with frustration. "You said you wanted to fight the Zyphorians." Rax's gaze faltered, his posture shifting uncomfortably. "I wanted to fight them, yes. But I also wanted power. And Velrock promised me that." Kira's grip tightened on the handle of her weapon, but she didn't draw it. Not yet. There was still a chance to salvage this. Velrock stepped forward, his voice a cold, malicious whisper. "Now, it's too late. You're trapped, Kira. You and your little rebel army. And there's nowhere to run." His eyes gleamed with satisfaction. "You won't make it out of here alive." Kira's mind raced, assessing her options, but the walls were closing in fast. Velrock had outplayed them, manipulating Rax and setting this trap in motion long before they had even arrived. She had no time to waste. She needed to think fast, and act faster. "Jiro," Kira muttered, her voice low but clear. "Go. Get the data. I'll handle this." Jiro nodded, his face set in grim determination. He darted into the command center, disappearing behind the sliding doors, leaving Kira alone with Velrock and the traitor beside him. "Don't think you'll win," Kira said, her voice steady. "I'll make sure of it." Velrock chuckled. "You really believe you have the power to stop me?" Before he could react, Kira launched herself forward, her feet barely touching the ground. Her fist slammed into his chest, sending him stumbling back. She wasn't about to give him the satisfaction of knowing how much his betrayal hurt her. She wasn't here to make a statement. She was here to survive, and to make sure the Zyphorians didn't win. The fight that followed was quick, brutal. Velrock swung his massive fists at her, but Kira ducked and weaved with precision, each move fluid, controlled. She couldn't waste time, every second brought Jiro closer to finishing the mission, and every second brought Velrock's reinforcements closer. Kira's elbow cracked into Velrock's jaw, and his grip loosened. She took the opportunity, grabbing his arm and using his own momentum to flip him onto the ground. "Rax, now!" Kira shouted. Rax hesitated, his gaze shifting between Kira and Velrock. Then, with a swift motion, he activated the command center's emergency lockdown, sealing Velrock inside. Kira stood, chest heaving, her eyes on the door where Jiro had vanished. It wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Velrock's voice echoed from inside the command center. "This isn't the end, Kira. You've made an enemy of the wrong people." But Kira didn't respond. She turned her back and walked toward the exit, knowing that what lay ahead would be even harder than this. She had to finish what she had started, before it was too late. The mission wasn't over. It had just begun. Key dialogues. Kira to Rax, "Why, Rax? You said you wanted to fight the Zyphorians." Velrock to Kira, "You really believe you have the power to stop me?" Kira to Jiro, "Go. Get the data. I'll handle this." Kira's breath came in sharp, quick bursts as she sprinted through the darkened hallways, her pulse racing. The cold metal walls seemed to close in on her as she moved, but she couldn't afford to hesitate. The betrayal stung, but there was no time to mourn the loss of trust. Not now. The data that Jiro had managed to secure was critical. It was their ticket to disrupting the Zyphorian invasion plans. If they failed to act, Earth would fall, and everything they'd fought for would be for nothing. Jiro's footsteps echoed behind her, the sound of urgency in his stride matching hers. She could hear him huffing, trying to keep up, but it wasn't the physical distance that troubled her, it was the weight of what was coming. They had been lucky to escape Velrock's trap, but it was only a matter of time before the Zyphorians realized they had been compromised. As they reached the exit, Kira glanced back at the narrow, dimly lit corridor. The door slid open with a soft hiss, revealing the empty expanse of the underground docking bay. The cold air from outside hit her skin, but she barely registered it. The only thing that mattered was getting to the ship, and fast. "Move," she barked, pushing Jiro forward. They both broke into a run, dodging the occasional worker or guard as they made their way toward the hangar where their small, inconspicuous transport ship was waiting. It was nothing compared to the massive Zyphorian warships, but it was fast enough to get them off this planet. As they neared the ship, Kira's mind raced. They had the data, but that didn't guarantee success. They needed to expose the Zyphorians' plan to the rest of the galaxy before it was too late. They had to rally more allies, more forces. But the resistance was fractured. Every faction had its own agenda, and convincing them to unite would take more than a well-placed speech. It would take something more, a symbol. And in the back of her mind, the thought of Earth being reduced to rubble kept gnawing at her, urging her to act faster. Once they reached the ship, Kira climbed into the cockpit, her fingers moving deftly over the controls. Jiro followed, settling into the seat beside her. "Engines are primed," Jiro said, his voice tight with excitement. "We're ready to go." "Good. Let's get out of here," Kira replied, her gaze focused on the control panel in front of her. With a series of swift commands, the ship's engines hummed to life, and they shot out of the hangar bay and into the night sky. But just as they cleared the planet's atmosphere, the warning lights blinked red. "Damn it," Kira muttered under her breath, her hands flying over the controls as she swore under her breath. "We've been detected." Jiro shot her a glance. "Are we going to make it?" "We don't have a choice," Kira said grimly. "I won't let them take this ship." The comms crackled to life, and the cold voice of a Zyphorian officer echoed through the cockpit. "You are flying a stolen vessel. Identify yourselves immediately, or we will be forced to take action." Kira's fingers tightened around the controls, her mind calculating the risk. She could try to outrun them, but they were in a smaller vessel. The Zyphorians would easily overpower them if it came to a chase. There was only one option. "We've got to fight our way out," Kira said, her voice low but full of conviction. "Prepare yourself, Jiro." He nodded, his expression hardening. "Let's do this." Kira punched the throttle forward, and the ship shot forward with terrifying speed. She could hear the faint sound of the Zyphorian fleet gaining on them, the hum of their engines echoing in her ears. The first blaster shot ripped through the air, narrowly missing them. "Hold on!" Kira shouted, pulling the ship into a sharp turn. The G-forces pressed against her, but she didn't let it throw her off course. The Zyphorian ships were closing in, but their heavy fire was giving her an opening. She would have to outmaneuver them. Jiro grabbed the weapons console, his hands steady despite the chaos around them. He launched a volley of plasma bolts toward their pursuers, watching as one of the ships veered off, taking damage but not fully going down. "We're not out yet," Jiro said, his voice strained as he targeted another ship. "I know," Kira muttered, her eyes narrowed with fierce determination. "We'll give them everything we've got." She pulled the ship into a steep dive, narrowly avoiding another barrage of plasma fire. The ship shook, but Kira kept her focus on the task at hand. The Zyphorians might have the advantage in numbers, but she had something they didn't: pure human ingenuity. The next few minutes were a blur of fire and dodging. Kira had learned the hard way how to fly under pressure, and the Zyphorian fleet was proving to be no slouch. But she wasn't about to let them win. She guided the ship through narrow canyons, through asteroid fields, and around the nearest moons, using the terrain to her advantage. Finally, after a tense few moments, she saw her opportunity, a gap in the pursuit. "Now!" Kira shouted, pushing the throttle to its maximum. The ship surged forward, its speed so great that it temporarily threw off the pursuing Zyphorians. She gritted her teeth, watching as the comms began to light up with frantic transmissions from the enemy ships, but she didn't look back. She knew this was only the beginning. The Zyphorians wouldn't stop until she was dead. But now, they knew she wasn't someone to be underestimated. And they knew she had something they could never take from her: the will to fight. As the distance between her and the chasing ships widened, Kira allowed herself a brief moment of relief. But the battle was far from over. The data in their possession was the key to everything. If she could get it to the right people, if she could rally enough forces, she could strike back. The Zyphorians had underestimated her once, but now, they would learn. "We're not done yet," Kira muttered, her voice resolute as she set her course for the next phase of their mission. Key dialogues. Kira to Jiro: "We'll give them everything we've got." Zyphorian officer: "Over comms you are flying a stolen vessel. Identify yourselves immediately, or we will be forced to take action." Kira to herself: "The Zyphorians won't stop until I'm dead." But now, they know they're not dealing with someone they can just crush.